world of Sigil is endlessly fascinating. One of the things about it is that the city is maintained by strange creatures called Dabus, or Dabus, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And they are humanoid creatures that don't actually touch the ground, they actually float a few inches above the ground. They're the servants of the Lady of Pain, and they wander around the city and destroy things, build things, fix things, undo things, and generally follow the lady's wishes, whatever they happen to be, and communicate for her. The Lady of Pain, by the way, never speaks. Ever. She is a figure of total dread and horror, and if you ever see her, you should run away as fast as you can, because you're likely to end up as a smear against the wall. Remember, just the touch of her shadow can kill people instantly, and there's virtually no protection from it. She is one of the most powerful beings in existence, and her servants, the Dabus, do what they can to make the lady's will known. Every now and again, the Lady of Pain needs to tell the people who live in Sigil what she wants done in the city. For instance, once she got rid of almost all but 15 of the factions hundreds of years ago, and at other points she tried to destroy factions altogether in Sigil during a campaign, an adventure called the Faction War. And when she interacts with you, that's the time to get scared. She doesn't brook anything, really any interaction with people beyond the very basic. Her Dabus, by the way, that, well, there's no easy way to put this. They don't speak. They communicate with rebuses. Yeah. You know those little, like, remember when Bugs Bunny had, like, it would hold up a sign and it had a picture of a screw and a picture of a ball? That's sort of like a rebus. It's sort of like a strange pictorial illusion of what you want a word or a statement to mean, and it sort of forms in a little oval above their head, almost like a cartouche of a hieroglyph. And it's very, very strange that she can't communicate people with directly. That's part of Planescape. Sigil in particular is one of the great mysteries of the planes. Something that can be seen as a criticism of Planescape is that it makes the outer planes too familiar, and I understand that, because in regular D&D, the outer planes are as distant as heaven and earth are in the real world, you know? It's this bizarre, strange place that you would virtually never visit, and all of a sudden, the Planescape universe lets you walk around it and do whatever you want, and it sort of demystifies it. But Planescape is not noted for its lack of mysteries. In fact, it creates mysteries. The more it explains, the more questions are raised, the deeper questions, the more fundamental questions. It's not much of a mystery if you say, well, I don't know what the afterlife looks like. It's more of a mystery as why is there an afterlife? What does it do there? What is its perfect purpose? How does it interact with other people? What is the city of Sigil? It's probably the ultimate mystery in all of Dungeons & Dragons. Why is it there? What does it do? It's sort of a strange linchpin, in a way, that I've said before holds the planes together. That's the best way I can put it. But we'll never really know exactly what Sigil is for. And it's a little bit like the show Lost in that sense. You know, the more you learn, the more questions it raises, rather than learning everything laid out on the table. When you read the Planescape books, one of the things you come across again and again is two terms, one called the Chant and another called the Dark. The Chant is information in general. It's slang for info about a certain event, place, people, anything. But then the Dark is a term for the secret. And that's the meaning behind almost all of Planescape. It's finding the secret truth behind everything. It's the meaning of the factions, it's why they exist, to find the secrets about the universe. It's the meaning of a lot of quests in the game. It goes beyond the simple role of defeating evil. And it goes to, let's answer some of the fundamental questions of the universe, which, in order to maintain some illusion about the mysteries of the game, can never really be answered. You know, you can't really know the ultimate mystery about everything. There's always going to be something dark out there, something secretive, something mysterious. And what the Lady of Pain is, what Sigil exactly is, and how the planes function is the ultimate dark, that you never really know. And some people can get annoyed by that and say, well, why do they bring up all these questions and never answer them? And some people may say, well, I don't want to answer these questions, I just want to fight bad guys. And some people, I hope, like myself, are fascinated by these questions and say, I prefer there to be some mysteries that are left unanswered, and I would prefer to work within this limited amount of knowledge to expand the scope of this universe that we're exploring and try to find its secrets. That's ultimately what any Planescape campaign is about, a mystery being set up and you going in to solve it. However, you can never solve the mystery of the Lady of Pain or the City of Sigil. You can only learn little bits and pieces enough to tantalize you, and that can annoy some people, but I love it. I think it's fantastic. There's another thing about Sigil that you're going to learn, especially if you read the books, and that's the cant. The cant is a special kind of, it's based on thieves' cant in late 18th, early 19th century London thieves' talk, sort of slang used in the underworld, something that maybe the closest equivalent nowadays would be something maybe gangster rappers would use to talk about their criminal dealings or something like that in their music. It's a series of allusions to things. For instance, some of my favorites are Knight of the Post, which means a thief, or the cross trade, which means thievery. I think my absolute favorite is Dance from the Leafless Tree, which means to dance at the end of a noose as you're being hanged. That's one of the most interesting ones, and it's thrown in there to pepper everything up, to spice it up and make it more interesting. I am a big Clockwork Orange fan, so having an invented slang in the story is something I take to immediately. It can annoy some people if you don't know the slang, but as you read the books you get to learn it pretty quickly, and if you're into it, you're going to pick up on what the slang means. It adds a sense of you actually being there, talking to people. And it's really, really fun to sit there and learn all the slang and use it with friends and introduce it to people that don't know about it. I really love the thieves' cant, or the cant rather, that's such a main part of the City of Sigil. So all in all, the City of Sigil is a very much unique space in Dungeons & Dragons. It has a lot more in common with an industrial 19th century cityscape, rather than a small medieval town. It's got smoke, smog, nasty people, jaded citizens, corruption, cops and criminals battling it out, politics constantly interfering in people's daily lives, brutal oppression of the poor, horrible monsters running around left and right, angels, demons, elves, humans, monsters of every description, people of all kinds, all shapes and sizes. You can find anything in Sigil. If it exists, you could probably find someone that if they can't give it to you right there, they can open a portal and get it for you if they have the right amount of jink, which means money. It's one of the most fascinating, exciting, and enjoyable cities, and I would love for this to be made into a modern game. A modern sandbox game where you can wander around Sigil, this giant city, and explore it and wander around it. I've wanted to do that for so long now that I don't think we're ever really going to be able to do it, because it would be so big, and it's such a small market for Planescape. It's big with the critics, but not with the fans, unfortunately. But I can still dream that one day I'll be able to do that. Now, I haven't talked a lot about the actual divisions of Sigil. It's divided up into a number of different sections or wards, like the Hive Ward, and the Ladies Ward, and the Guildhall Ward. And I haven't talked about the actual running of the city, because the people that run the basic services of the city, like the police and the mental houses and orphanages and the mortuary, are all tied up intimately in the factions. And I'm going to go into, I hope, as many factions as I can, maybe all of them in other videos, and explain more about the city and how it works and how they function within the city. But until then, just know that Sigil is one of the most fascinating aspects of Planescape. It brings me back every time, and is unlike a lot of other Dungeons and Dragons like Forgotten Realms or something like that. To me, Planescape is endlessly inventive and exciting to read about, and I just love being in that world and pretending to be there with all the politics and the factions and the smog and the monsters and strange things. I love the idea of being there, and I really recommend you read it because it's absolutely fantastic.